In this video, you'll join me on Rathtrevor Beach for some tips on taking ethereal and dreamy macro shots of shells and seaweed and other beach subjects just like these. Well, good morning. Beautiful morning here on Rathtrevor Beach. I've arrived just before sunrise. There is some light developing in the sky. What I'm hoping to do today is some low macro shots. The water is calm right in here in the pools on the beach. We're a little past low tide. Tide's coming in. Wasn't a particularly low tide this morning, so that's okay. We've got great conditions. There's a magic time just as the sun is coming up when we get these long shadows. There's seaweed and rocks here that I'm hoping to photograph. We've got a perfect silver morning, I call them. They're after a storm. We had a lot of rain the last couple of days, and so the air is very clear, and yet we've got mist. Just it's not obvious, but there's a high moisture content in the air, and that gives this kind of lovely silvery sheen to everything, which I really like. So we've got lots of wildlife here this morning too. Lots of seagulls and geese and sandpipers and whatnot. So once the sun is up, I may be taking some wildlife shots as well. I've got my big lens for that. The big lens is good for some sunrise shots as well. Right at sunrise, sometimes you can get those long shots across the water that can be really nice. So we're about 10 minutes away from sunrise now, so I'm gonna set up my camera and take some shots. The nice thing about a beach like Rathtrevor is it's very large, and even though there were lots of folks arriving for the sunrise, we also had lots of room for all of us, and I noticed quite a few other photographers out there taking photos, and here's a couple of the ones that I got. Well, it's been an exceptionally good morning here at Rathtrevor Beach. The sun is beautiful. It's up now well into the sky, so I'm going to be heading home soon. I've taken a lot of photos, some of the mountains, which in the rising sun were really nice, and I've also taken a lot of macro shots down water level. I filmed a short tutorial which may turn out, and if it does, I will post that as well. I was definitely struck this trip, especially thinking about the gear. Having the right gear makes such a difference, and then to come across a couple of techniques that are really helpful for getting really beautiful, ethereal, that really dreamy, I hear people call it, dreamy kind of images. So that kind of is something that I feel I've been successful at. So hopefully we'll be able to share some of the tips that make that possible. Number one being the gear. It really is so important to have an high quality macro lens. Manual focus is my preference, but it doesn't have to be manual focus. I just find that does provide that fine tuning ability to focus on the areas of the subject that are going to hold the eye of the viewer and not be distracting. Fine focus on artistic elements within the scene really are important. So for me, that's a big deal, is having excellent manual focus, and the IRIX 150 has that, so I'm very pleased with that feature. Of course, having a location that you can come to, like Rathtrevor Beach, is really important. The elements here that are important are the water. You can see here behind me this area of water that is laying on the sand, and what I look for in this is right at the edges of the where the sand meets the water. I look for shells, seaweed, and rocks primarily. The more texture the better, but not clutter. I look for those simple compositions, and so often I'll be out in the water shooting back towards the sand, and that means that I have to have waterproof boots. It means that I have to have waterproof pants as well, because I'm often kneeling down or holding the camera down low to the water. So along with having an excellent lens, it's really important to have some good waterproof gear to wear. So those are the main tips that I have to share about macro photography on the beach. For the tutorial part of this video, I got down on my knees in the water here and took a few shots of a green rock. Unfortunately, the curves of the sand patterns kind of got in the way, and so it wasn't the best shot, but I think the actual process may be of interest, so I've included it here. In order to get the kind of shot that I'm interested in, it's for me, it's all about the beautiful bokeh and the fine, sharp detail on the subject. So I'm just going to go in a little closer here on this one. What I find with, I've tried a lot of different macro lenses, and a lot of them are focused on sharpness, which of course is important. But for me, let's see if I'm still in the shot here. Yes. For me, it's as much about the bokeh. So I think that gear is important. I purchased this 150mm IRIX macro lens. I'm adapting it. It's a Canon mount. I'm adapting it onto my Sony, and I got this lens because I loved the bokeh, and it is a sharp lens. So currently I've got this rock set up here. I'm at f/18 on this lens, and 180th of a second, and so I'll give that a try, but my suspicion is I'm going to want to go down to a wider opening. I like to focus right on the meniscus, or the place at which whatever the water or the sand has curved up to meet the rock. So I'm going to actually go down, way down to something like 5.6, and that now has started to really blur out the background. This particular setting, I lost that point of contact where the water meets the stone, and to me that's really important to get that curve of the water up towards the stone. That's, I think, one of the most beautiful elements of these types of photography. And yeah, there we go now. So now I've gone down to, I think I'm actually going to go down to open wide to 5 as I get closer here. Hard to find that spot. There it is. One slightly difficult thing about this lens is just how fine the focusing is. I'll try another one at that point. So that was 1 200th of a second f5. I'm going to go even further down to 3.5. Checking my focus by zooming in. I also have the level on my camera set up, so oftentimes it doesn't feel like that's where a level is, but if you have that to remind you, it really helps. A little bit dark. Take a few here. So we'll see how that turns out. Challenge here is that I've got some of these sand ridges in front of the stone, which can be really nice when you're wanting to blur it out. But when you're wanting to catch that point at where the water curves up to hit the stone, then it is sometimes that's where I want to situate something where the water is in front. So I get the water in front, get that smooth curve, and then it comes up to the stone. So maybe I'll look for another one that's that kind of a composition, and if I've still got battery life, I'll take a video of that as well. So I found a crab shell here, and it's in the water. It's just at the edge of the water. So I'm going to try that same shot again. Getting down as low as I can to the water. Focusing on the crab shell. Again, looking for that waterline focus. On this Sony camera, I'm setting my ISO down about 50, which is the lowest setting, to get as much of that detail in as possible. That puts us in around, at f3.5, I'm in around 250 for a second. Once I get that set up, I'm manually focusing. It's a manual focus lens, so that's where I use the magnification to bump right in on that curve. I can find it. There's a nice little curve there. Curve of the water. 2-second timer bracketed. I'm going to move in a little closer. Now we're getting quite close here. We're moving into the true macro range. Checking my focus on that again. Shell is quite nice actually. I'm going to try to get the sand that's drying on the shell. I'm a little bright, so I think I'm actually going to, now that I'm moving in closer, I'm going to bump my f-stop to 5.6. In some ways it feels challenging with this crab shell because the place where the water hits the shell is not as obvious. There's also a braid of seaweed in here. Let's see if I'm still in the camera frame here. I'm going to move to a slightly different angle. Now I've got a different take on where the line is. Ah, there we go. Okay, that could be very nice. I'm leaving this a little bit overexposed, and then I'll take it down again. 1/500 to the second. It's getting very bright now. So we'll see if those turn out or not. That's the interesting thing about this type of photography. I find that early morning light, which we all love for the sunrise and the golden hour, often we don't think of that as a time for macro photography, but in fact that light really does provide the contrast at a low level, which is what you're looking for. I took one earlier today which was almost directly into the sunrise, and just the way that sunrise light highlights and improves all of the tonal range within the area around the subject is, it's a significant improvement. So if a shot turned out, I'll post that as well here for take a look at. Well, thank you for watching to the end of the video. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more videos like this. And I'll leave one last image here for you. It's, I think, the best one from the day. I really like it, so I hope you do too. Till next time, bye-bye.